Hey everyone, it's me again, Brittany, and I'm here today with my updated bookshelf tour. So I did film a bookshelf tour in January of 2019, and currently it is December 30th of 2019, so it hasn't quite been a year, but probably by the time this video goes up, it'll have been about a year. So I did just want to get one last snapshot of what my bookshelves look like in this house because I am moving and I will probably be reorganizing my shelves. So I never did a bookshelf tour with how they look right now after that reorganization one that I made a while ago, and I definitely wanted to update it before I left. And I'm gonna give you a little bit of some explanations. So first and foremost, I organize my books by genre, so each shelf is mostly based on a genre, if not an entire author, if I have enough of the books, like in the Shadowhunter books and my Throne of Glass books. But other than that, it's mostly by genre. I do a lot of like Tetris with my books because I just don't have that much space on my shelves. I also just think it looks really cool. Other than that, I have a few knickknacks on them. I do think though that with my new shelf, I will probably be getting rid of some of the knickknacks on the shelves. I just like the look of a cleaner shelf. So we'll just see how that ends up going. But I'm really excited about this bookshelf tour today. I'm praying that it's not going to be another hour-long video like it was last time. One of you guys commented something along the lines of, this could be a full-length movie, and I was like, I never thought of it in that way, but I am really excited. I know that you guys absolutely adore bookshelf tours, and I'm really excited about this one. I don't pull every single book off the shelf. That's not my style of bookshelf touring. For the most part, I kind of show you the shelf, I'll name off the books, and then I'll talk about some if I have any thoughts on them. So that's really it though. That's all the explanation you need. I do mention, I think in like a pre-shelf part, that my shelves are from IKEA. So all of the white shelves are from IKEA. I do always leave that in my description bar as well, just in case you guys ever want to know. So that's, I feel like, really all the intro I should make for this bookshelf tour. I'm excited about it. I'm nervous about the editing though, so I hope you guys really enjoy this. I hope that it's everything that your heart's desired, and please let me know down below if you're excited about this bookshelf tour. Also, how do you organize your books? Do you do it by genre in each shelf? Do you do it by height? Do you do it by color? Do you do it in chronological order or author or alphabetical? Like, let me know. I really want to know. Let's just dive in. So this is kind of a overview of the shelves. I do have 3 of the Billy bookshelves, and then one of the tall, skinnier Billy bookshelves, and then a short Billy bookshelf. They're all from IKEA for all of you guys that ask and wonder. And we're gonna start right at the top. Ignore my nails. I was gonna do them, but you know, things happen. So we're starting at the top. Just first and foremost, we have this BB-8 cup. It was actually in last year's bookshelf tour as well, so we'll just move them right there for now. And I'll talk about the stuff that's up here also at the very end. Again, I'm not really going to be taking everything out. I'm going to be talking about key items and stuff. So let's get into it. We do have Angels and Demons, Da Vinci Code, Inferno, and The Lost Symbol, all by Dan Brown. My dad's a really big fan of Dan Brown books, so I figured I would be as well. Then we have The Night Film, Yes Please, Moonwalking with Einstein, Palestine, Tell the Wolves I'm Home. This one I actually was recommended by a friend, and it was years ago, but it was kind of an expensive book to buy, so I waited a really long time until I found it for a good price. And then we have The Psychopath Test. This is kind of my more like adult shelf. So these do tend to be adult books or books that I just might not reach for as often. The Goldfinch, Luminaries, we have Roanoke Girls. I loved this. It's quite an awful story. So if you're into thrillers that have terrible twists, go for it. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Love this. Love this. It's raved about for good reason. Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. We have the first and third book in the 50 Shades of Grey series. I don't know what happened with the second. I won't repurchase it. We have Ugly Love and November 9th, both by Colleen Hoover. I feel very meh about Colleen Hoover, to be quite honest. Crazy Rich Asians, I really want to read this after I watched the movie. It was just such a good story, so hopefully I love the book. Kira Kira, this is actually a book that I read when I was really young, and I absolutely adored it. It just is a really hard-hitting story. I believe that it was like a necessary school read, and I loved it, and I found it way later on in my life. Book Thief and Kite Runner, which I have not read. Walking Disaster by Jamie Maguire. This is a romance, so is Beautiful Disaster, but they're not the same height, so that's annoying. Petals of the Wind, Stephen King, 11/22/63. Still have not read a Stephen King books. Love that for me. And then The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I've heard really good things about. This shelf isn't that interesting. Again, it's just not one that I reach for that often, so we'll just put BB-8 back. Now for the second shelf at the top. Oh no, Will Herondale has fallen down. That's okay. But I do have some cute little plushies from the hangover recovery kits that I've gotten from Fae Crate, and that's just Mia. Or well, I don't know if I got, actually, I think I got her, oh no, it was definitely Fae Crate. So, Mia Corvair, Will Herondale, they would make a cute couple, right? Just set them up here. And then I have these cute little chess pieces that I got in the Shelf Love crate for Dark Dawn, and it's just Mia with Mr. Kindly and Eclipse. So cute. And Tricky, so we'll just take them off too. This is one of my contemporary shelves. I obviously don't read that much contemporary, so this is one of the only ones, but I do love how colorful they are. I almost want to start reading more contemporary just to add a little bit of lightness to my very dark shelves. But we have all my Sarah Dessen books over here. Out of all these, I'm pretty sure I've read every single one of them except for Dreamland and This Lullaby. These two I haven't read yet, but I do kind of want to. I keep those more for nostalgic reasons, but they'll probably always be on my shelves. We have Christine Ricciot's Again But Better, which I still have not read, but I'm very excited to. Symptoms of a Heartbreak, I'll Give You the Sun. We have an adult romance, My Favorite Half Night Stand by Christina Lauren. I do kind of want to start reading more romance, and therefore I need to kind of make a shelf of romance, but for now, it's in contemporary. We have What Kind of Girl. This is an arc that I recently hauled. Then To All the Boys I've Loved Before and Always and Forever, Lara Jean. I am missing the second book of this series. I have not read it yet, and the movie's coming out soon, which is tragic, so I definitely have to get on that. Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. This one, I am sad to say I keep on my shelf just to have a book to pull out whenever I want to talk about a book I don't like, so sorry, Rainbow Rowell. But also, why'd you make that so bad? Then we have Fangirl, an actual good book by Rainbow Rowell. Beauty Queens. This one I keep keeping because the premise of it sounded so interesting, but I still have not read it. But basically, Beauty Queen's plane crashes on a deserted island, and they kind of have to live and survive. Love and Gelato, still have not read. The Fault in Our Stars, I have read. Carry On, so good. I do have the dust jacket that she released for the Carry On print like this. I just don't have the hardcover version of Carry On to put it on, so there's that. And then out of all of these, I've read all of them, except for An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. So we have another John Green book, Looking for Alaska, 10 Things We Did, and Probably Shouldn't Have, Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight, Memoirs of a Teenage Amnesiac, Red, White, and Royal Blue, which was really good. And then we have two other Jenny Han books, which is The Summer I Turned Pretty and Will Always Have Summer, Spoiled, We Were Liars. Didn't really love this, honestly. I feel like it was pretty overhyped. And then The Boyfriend app. So that's basically it for this shelf. So we'll just put him back, put her back. Trick Mia. Nice. Now for the last big of the tall shelves, I just have this really cute ceramic mug that came in the shelf love crate for Dark Dawn. Just has like all the different book covers. It's really cool. I don't know if you can see that. I just realized I was kind of holding it up and about, but it's really, really pretty. And I just keep some of my fancier bookmarks in here. So whether that be metal bookmarks or just cute ones that I've gotten in subscription boxes, I keep my Newts bookmarks in here because I just love these so, so much. Some other metal and fancier bookmarks. I like the little, he's technically a spoon, but I like to keep him there. He's guarding the bookmarks. And then this shelf, honestly, until I put this one here, this was kind of just a mishmash, like a catch-all of my books that I read when I was a lot younger and just for sentimental reasons don't want to get rid of. That's kind of where this one falls, except for the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Ready Player One book. I've read most of these. I still have not read Lux. I'm pretty sure I'm missing a bind up in the middle of Opposition and Beginnings. I keep it mostly because I know Mika loves it and I trust Mika's opinion, but I still haven't read them and I feel like I'll just read them one day though when I really want something trashy, like trashy YA. That is what I consider that. Ready Player One, which I read and kind of liked. Hated the movie though, so there's that. And then we have the trilogy of Generation Dead. This was actually a really cool like zombie style book, but the zombies are kind of normal. They don't try and eat people's brains or anything weird like that, but people are really discriminatory and like mean. But I never finished it. I got Passing Strange, but I still have not read it. The Angel Fall trilogy, this one's interesting. I really, really loved it at the time that I read it, but I don't know if it would have aged as well. The premise is just really cool. It's a dystopian, but about angels kind of destroying the world. So angels from heaven, wild. And then the Maze Runner trilogy, and then we have Remember Me and The 9 Lives of Chloe King. This and these three are the biggest. I read these when I was young and I'm just not gonna get rid of. So Dark Secrets 2, Kissed by an Angel, all by, I think it was Elizabeth Chandler. Again, my really pretty Lord of the Rings trilogy that my dad got me when I was young. I finally read the first book. So I'm really proud of myself for that. Reboot, I haven't read this one, but I'm really interested in it because it has to do with people coming back to life, and the longer you're dead, the more powerful you are when you come back to life, and we're following a girl that was dead the longest. The Maximum Ride series, I feel like these are a staple of classic young adult. And then 2 of the Miss Peregrine's books. I really feel like I should get rid of these because I know that they were super hyped a few years ago when I got them. But at this point, I'm probably just not gonna read them, so. And yeah, that's really it. So we'll just put her back there. All right, and now the first one of the skinny shelf. So these are kind of like classics for the most part, and I've read some of them. We just have a chocolate frog box right there. So Dracula, which I actually read, Tess of the D'Urbervilles, read Les Mis. I don't know if I'll ever read that, honestly. I really don't think so. I've seen the movie though. Catch-22, haven't read. Bell Jar, haven't read. Brave New World, read half. You know, like when you definitely read some of it for school reading and then you kind of spark noted the rest. That's what I did with Brave New World in 1984. So definitely need to go back to those though one day. Oh, and Lord of the Flies. I don't know if I want to go back to Lord of the Flies though. And then Catcher in the Rye, which I have read. Of Mice and Men, I've read it as well. Picture of Dorian Gray, I actually read this year. Same with Dracula, I forgot. Little Prince, which I really, really, really want to read. This is actually one of my mom's favorite books I've recently found out, which is, I mean, I kind of knew that when she gave it to me for my birthday, but she's been talking about it a lot, actually. Call of the Wild, which I'm pretty sure I've read, but it's one of those books that I'm not sure if I read like the children's classics version or what it is. Anne of Green Gables have not read. Don't know if I ever will, but this edition is just so freaking cute. I loved it, and I got it from Book Outlet for a really good price, so. Outsiders and Speak, and this is the Speak graphic novel, which if I'm gonna read Speak, I feel like I'm gonna do it this way. And The Divine Comedy. So that's really it for that shelf. And now, kind of to give you a little tour of what's going on top of my shelves. The lighting's bad because the ring light's under this stuff, so just, you know, deal with it for now. But that is a fairy loot box that I got for my Caraval Special Edition. I love it. It's just really pretty and big. Then up here we have my X-Men kind of glossary, I guess, and then Aesop's Fables, the Getaway box that I got my Dark Dawn stuff in from Shelf Love Crate, and then just some random chalkboards that I thought I was gonna use and I never really got to. And now I'm trying to make this a little bit more reasonable But we have like a whole stuffed animal collection. A lot of the little plushies that have gotten in boxes, so Jude and Cardin. And then we have all of my Stitches. So this one's actually wearing my first dog's collar, so that's really cute. The first dog I ever owned, anyways. And then my experiment version, we have a book outlet bear, some more Stitches, a Stitch hat. We have a really small Nikolai Lanslav Rowan, who looks really, really mad. And then a Christmas Stitch, and then some letters, and just some boxes over there. I'm not gonna try harder to do that. I just wanted to let you know what was up here. It's probably dusty too. I normally am not this high. Okay, so ignore me in the little mirror over there. But this is the shelf right under it. It just has some of my bigger fantasy books and just a lot of versions of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I was kind of talking about this in my last haul, but I own so many editions and I still have not actually read it. Yeah, this one is probably one of my favorites. I got it on Book Outlet, but I've been following this kind of illustrated version of the classics for a while, so when I saw this one, I just had to go for it. There are a few, actually, in this collection, so maybe one day I'll have them all. This one's from France that I actually got in a cute little, like, street glass box thing. It was totally free. And then these are the two that I got when I went to El Ateneo in Argentina, so they're in Spanish. This is a cute little book that my boyfriend got me, and it's these little cartoon characters. I'm sure you've seen like these kinds of comics on Twitter, and my boyfriend got me like the whole thing. Oh, I just realized there's like things of us in there. So really like that. It's cute to flip through. And then again, some of the bigger fantasy books. So we have my Game of Thrones fancy edition. These are mixed up, I know, but I just didn't feel like undoing it. But we have a Clash of Kings, which is the second book, and then a Storm of Swords, which is the third, which I haven't read yet. So a few of you have been asking me what editions these are. These are the reissued hardcovers. I find them on Book Depository, but I don't think they're being printed anymore because I know that Game of Thrones isn't on there anymore, but originally it had been. Take that with a grain of salt. They're also kind of pricey, but you know, they're pretty. And then we have The Queens of Innis Lear. Haven't read that. And I haven't read The Queen of Blood or The Reluctant Queen by Sarah Beth Durst. So yeah, that's all fun. Okay, so this is basically my adult fantasy shelf. Like, this was supposed to be able to hold all my adult fantasy books, but I have collected more, so it doesn't have them all anymore, but it was the original one. So just to start off the knickknacks I have these cute little bookends. I'm pretty sure I got these in Shelf Love Crate as well for the Dark Dawn box. So they're really, really stunning. And then I have this cute little Mia Corvair Funko. I think she came in the Illumicrate Dark Dawn. I obviously got a lot of the Dark Dawn Hangover kits. So then we have, let's start over here. We have my trilogy for the Mistborn trilogy. I've read all of these now. I feel like patting myself on the back. We have the novella of The Slow Regard of Silent Things. This is the novella in the Name of the Wind series. A couple of the Witcher books. The Last Wish, which is actually the first collection of short stories, and then there's a second collection of short stories which I don't own called Sword of Destiny, and then there's Blood of Elves, which is the first book in the actual series, which I haven't read yet, but I'm really excited to. I actually want to read this before I start the Netflix series because I feel like it's going to give me a better idea of what's going on, and I don't know, I want to do it before I watch the Netflix series. And then we have The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin and The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. So both of those I have read. Then we go into El Nombre del Viento, which is the Spanish edition of The Name of the Wind, which I also got in El Ateneo and hauled recently. We have The Wise Man's Fear, which I still haven't read, and yes, I still haven't read it because I'm just, well, we never know when the third book's coming out, so I keep holding off on it, but I feel like next year might be the year to get into it. And then this stunning 10th anniversary edition of Name of the Wind. I wish I still had enough room on my shelves to be able to display this cover instead of having to hide her away. But look at those red sprayed edges. We love a pretty book. And then up here we have Peace and Turmoil. Speaking of pretty books, look how stunning this is. Karina actually gave this to me from Bookish Babbles, and I still haven't read it, but I still really want to, so I'm sorry, Karina. And then City of Brass, which I'm super excited about, but still haven't read. Savior's Champion, still working on. Poppy War, loved. Dragon Republic, still haven't read. I don't know how I've held off on reading this for so long. I don't know why I thought these sprayed edges were blue for a minute. And then we have all of my Nevernight books. I know I have a problem, but I did it in the UK, US, UK, US, UK, US, UK kind of order. That way, I don't know, I felt like it looked really nice. But we have Nevernight, God's Grave, Dark Dawn, and then Dark Dawn again in the UK editions. These are just so, so pretty. I'll just show you Dark Dawn's because that's the only new one. Look how pretty she is. That's obviously, I was gonna say T'Challa, but it's not T'Challa, it's Mr. Kindly. And it stretches all the way to the back. It's just so stunning. And then this one has black sprayed edges. This one has yellow, which is really pretty. And then we have my US editions of God's Grave, Dark Dawn, and Dark Dawn. I am missing Nevernight in the US editions, but it's mostly because I've been looking for, so my God's Grave and Dark Dawn say signed first edition on them. Of course this one doesn't, but the one right there says signed first edition, and I really want one that says signed first edition for Nevernight, but I haven't been able to find it yet, so I've just been holding off on that. So yeah, that's my shelf. Love her. And what was going on there again? Okay, yeah, this, and then little Mia. Look how angry she is. Oh, look how angry she is. I love that. And now for my Sarah J. Maas shelf. We just have this cute little Christmas stitch, which I haven't taken off from Christmas because he stays around year-round because he's just so cute. So then we have a mug, and this one's from Faye Crate's Past Items sale, and it just says wrong kind of witch on it with Abraxos in the background. Really like that. I don't know if I'll keep it on the shelves for forever, but for now it's there. And then I have a few candles. We just have this bromance candle from one of the crates that I got for Kingdom of Ash. And then we have these ones. This is from In the Wick of Time, and this one's from Briarwick. And it's just Abraxos and Selena's apartment, so. And then we have the books. So we have my original series of them. So from the Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, Empire of Storms, and to Tower of Dawn. And then obviously Kingdom of Ash couldn't fit there, so we have my excessive 3 amounts right over here. And this one is actually flipped inside out. This was the Barnes & Noble edition, and I just loved how it looked like this. It has all the characters on it. You could have used it as a poster, but since Selena is just so perfectly in the spine, I keep her there. And then the UK editions from Throne of Glass to Empire of Storms. I still haven't gotten Kingdom of Ash in that edition, but that'll definitely be the next purchase. And then this is just that collector's edition, and it has the, oh my gosh. It's been upside down this whole time, and no one told me. Not a single one of you let me know that the dagger's supposed to point down. Well, yeah, that's funny anyways. So it has the slip case, and then when you just slide it out, it has the book, the Amulet of Orinth on the back, and then the dagger or sword on the front. It's just really freaking pretty. It has like special end pages and stuff. Love it. They did just come out with a Court of Thorns and Roses version of this kind of book, and I'm definitely gonna get it, but I haven't gotten it yet. It just looks so good as like a decoration piece, but you know. So we'll just put Stitch here, mug there, and the bromance candle. Nice. Alright, and now for the last shelf in this level. This is definitely a catch-all shelf. It originally started as kind of other young adult books that I don't want to get rid of that I read when I was a lot younger, but now it's kind of merged into a lot of the books that I've recently hauled as well, because this is the only place they fit. So the first thing and the only thing that we have on here is this cute little tin. So it just says, "You have me until the last star in the galaxy dies," by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. It is an Illuminae inspired book tin that I got in a recent OWL crate, and it just says "Live a life" on the back, worth dying for. And inside I just keep all of my magnetic or like clip style bookmarks, just like the non-classic kinds of bookmarks. I'm trying not to blind you. And then it has one last quote that says, "You might get only one shot, so shoot." So yeah, I really like that. And then for the actual books, on this we have all my L.J. Smith books. Oh, it's embarrassing. It's backwards. Yeah, we have the L.J. Smith books. These are the Night World trilogy bind-ups basically, but this is the new one that I'm starting in these fancy like collector's editions. I just think they're really stunning, so whenever I can find one for a good price on Book Outlet, I go for it. And then eventually when I have all of the separate stories in this trilogy, I'll get rid of these 3. And then I have Dark Visions. This again might be my favorite L.J. Smith book. I've said that quite a few times, or well, I think I said that in my last bookshelf tours, so if you still haven't checked it out, I still recommend it. And then The Forbidden Game. This one is probably my least favorite, but I read it, so we're keeping it. And then Haunting of Hill House, which I got in an owl crate, still have not read. Skyward, I'm really excited about this. And look how pretty that cover is. But I still have also, oh my gosh, have you been out of focus this whole time? Sorry about that. But I still have also not read it. And then we have the 2 books that are so far in this series. I believe that there's a 3rd book coming out, but I'm not entirely sure. So This Mortal Coil, and then This Cruel Design by Emily Savada. And then we have these 2 really pretty versions of The Guinevere Deception. This one I got in an owl crate, and that's why it's like sea green and silver. It's just so freaking pretty. And then we have the classic version with the violets and the gold, which I absolutely adore as well. And that one I got in the fake crate. And then we have There Will Come a Darkness, Shadow Frost, and Middle Game. I feel like I don't have to talk too much about these because, again, I recently hauled all of them. And then Crier's War, and I hope you get this message, fall under that same category. And then we have the Hush Hush Saga, which is Hush Hush, Crescendo, Silence, and Finale by Becca Fitzpatrick. This is trashy young adult to me, and I love it. And then we have the Bloodlines and the Fiery Heart by Rochelle Mead. These are the spin-off from the Vampire Academy series, and last year when I did my bookshelf tour, I had not read them. And this year I can say that I only have 1 left in the series, and I absolutely adore them. So I probably will be trying to find the rest of the series and collecting them because they were great. And that's really it for this one. So I just kind of want to put this one in the middle though now. All right, next we're going down. Okay, so this shelf is mostly just young adult fantasy, like current young adult fantasy. So we do have the Kiss of Deception trilogy, which is Kiss of Deception, Heart of Betrayal, and Beauty of Darkness, which I read a long time ago, but you know, we're keeping them. They have a place on the shelf. And then we have the 3 Dark Crowns books. So 3 Dark Crowns, 1 Dark Throne, 2 Dark Reigns, and then the novella, which is Queens of Fenburn. And then I recently found out that 5 Dark Fates, I want to say is called, which is the next book, and I believe the finale in the series, came out already like a couple of months ago, and I haven't heard anyone talk about it. I didn't even know it was coming out. So I definitely need to hop on that and find out what happens in these books. I do feel like they lost a lot of speed in 2 Dark Reigns. Like there was just, I don't know, the way that the story was going was not my favorite way, so maybe that's why 5 Dark Fates didn't get as much hype. I still need to get it though, just to find out what happens. And then we have an ARC, which is The Sisters Grimm by Mena Van Prague. I love how pretty this book is. Then we have Dance of Thieves, which is actually a spin-off from this original trilogy. I think there's already a 2nd book out in this one as well, but I have not read it yet. I don't know necessarily when I'm gonna get around to it, but this book is just so pretty. I love what they did with the series. It's definitely a lot better than their other covers. I mean, let's compare. There's literally no comparison. Like, look at that, and now look at that, and look back at that. So, and then we have, oh, I don't know why these are split up. This should go like that. My bad. We do have the first 2 books in the Red Queen series. This is another series that I thought I was going to get to this year. It's another one that Mika August on BookTube, like one of my really good friends, adores, and I haven't read it yet, but I know it's going to be trashy, so we're here for it. And then we have some books by Evelyn Skye. Let's talk first about the one that I loved, which is The Crown's Game. This one gives me really strong Night Circus vibes, so if you loved Night Circus, you're really gonna find a lot of similarities, but like in a good way in this one. And then I still haven't read the 2nd book, which is The Crown's Fate. I think that it's only a duology. And then we have her new book, which I unfortunately really didn't like, which is Circle of Shadows. But look how pretty. At least she's gorgeous. I'm still really sad that I didn't like it because I had really high hopes for Evelyn Skye. And then we do have the first 2 books in the And I Darken trilogy, I want to say, by Kirsten White. And it is a retelling, I believe, on Vlad the Impaler, but like Vlad the Impaler is a girl, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I know that her new series, The Guinevere Deception, is also just a retelling on King Arthur, so Apparently Kirsten White likes retellings. We have Nocturna by Maya Motain. This is just such a pretty book as well. I got it in a fairy loot. Really enjoyed it, actually. It's kind of a Spanish-inspired fantasy. Then we have the first and the last book in the Queen of the Tearling trilogy. I don't have the second one, so I still have not finished it. Then we have A Winter's Promise. I do think that it's kind of funny that this one's upside down when technically it's the same direction as all the other ones, but I do believe that it's because it was actually printed in a different language first, and then it was also made in English, and maybe that's why it's upside down. And then we have Sea Fire by Natalie Parker. Love this. This is probably my favorite of all of these kind of like piratey style books. And then we have Daughter of the Pirate King, which was really good, Daughter of the Siren Queen, which was really not, and then To Kill a Kingdom, which I actually pretty much liked. I still like Sea Fire better, but you know. All right, so, and now we're gonna start going that way. So we have my Shadowhunter shelves. This hasn't changed too much. I do have the City of Bones collector's edition. I believe this one came out at the 10th anniversary, which is just really, really pretty. The gold foiling and yeah. And then we have the original Mortal Instruments books. So City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and City of Heavenly Fire. We have the Shadowhunters Codex, which is one of those books that is just way prettier than its dust jacket. So love that for that. And then Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy and the Bane Chronicles, which I still haven't read. I'm not big on the whole novella thing, but I have heard good things about Tales from Shadowhunter Academy, so I want to probably get to that this coming year. Bane Chronicles I have not heard great things about. And then the best trilogy, in my opinion, at least of Cassandra Clare's books. But we have Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. Just the Infernal Devices. They're just so good. The covers are not, but I mean, the story is what counts. So we'll just put those back in. And we have the special Waterstones editions for Lord of Shadows and Queen of Air and Darkness. I get questions all the time on what these are, and that is what they are. It's the exclusive Waterstones editions. This one I actually pre-ordered when it was coming out for Queen of Air and Darkness, and then Lord of Shadows I actually found on eBay, I believe, but I cannot find Lady Midnight anywhere. That one's not going to be possible to find. I don't know if these ones are even possible to find currently, so you would just have to look up Waterstones editions of each of these and then see if you can find them. If you wanted to get these not funny, but fun rune style. And then we have the classic versions of the trilogy, which is Lady Midnight, Lord of Shadows, and Queen of Air and Darkness. Does it bug anyone else that Queen of Air and Darkness went through like a whole change in printing? Like all the other ones have these metallic, very cool toned shades, and then Queen of Air and Darkness said, metallic? Nah, let's do bright blue. So, I mean, I do think that it's way better. Like, look at that, that's stunning. But it also doesn't match any of the other books now, so yeah. That's just my own crisis. And this is actually on, but you really can't tell. I think that the batteries need to be changed. But this is an angelic rune. I get a lot of questions about this as well. It changes colors. I got it in the Queen of Air and Darkness Fae Crate Hangover Recovery Kit, and I don't think they sell it anymore even in their past item sale, so I just don't know if it's possible to find, but it is pretty cool. I do have a lot of issues with mine though, like it goes through phases where it just flickers red and creepy and it looks pretty demonic, but other than that I really like it. Okay, next shelf. Now for the first of my, well, this is basically my favorites shelf. Like this is just some all-time favorites. Well, let's just get into it. We have this mug, which actually has pieces of all of Holly Black's work. So we have Jude and Carden from Cruel Prince, and then we have pieces from her other fairy stories, which I actually have not read yet, so yeah. But I got this in Shelf Love Crate's mini getaway box that they were doing, but the one that I thought was going to have Queen of Nothing inside of it, but ended up having Heart of the Moors, which is also by Holly Black. But I mean, I still think that this is really cool. And we have my adorable little Rhysand Funko. This is actually made by an amazing bookish Funko person. I will leave them linked down below and I'll like put them right here. I just can't remember exactly what the name was, but she made me this little Rhysand and sent it over my way, and I just love him so much. Like look at him. He's just so cute. He's so styling. We love him. We love our One True Love. We have the books. So let's start over here because we have 2 books that aren't part of this whole series, and that's gonna be the books by Kristen Cicerelli, which is The Last Namsara and the Caged Queen. I loved The Last Namsara when I read it last year, and I only just recently managed to get my hands on The Caged Queen. Or not recently, I guess, but it was like a whole 6 months later. So I still haven't read it. I did find out actually that each of the books in this series follow different characters, so I'm really intrigued to see if I like The Caged Queen or not. And then we have all my different editions of the Cruel Prince series. It's excessive, I know. We have the Owl Crate edition, which I'm pretty sad I don't have the Owl Crate edition of Wicked King and Queen of Nothing, but look how freaking fancy. Love that. And then we have the Black edition, so those are the Barnes & Noble special editions, and then the regular Barnes & Noble edition of Wicked King, the Black edition of Wicked King, the Book of the Month normal edition of Queen of Nothing, which kind of bugs me that it's a little bit taller than all the others, but that's okay. And then the Black edition of Queen of Nothing, and then the stunning Fay Crate. I 100% meant Fairy Loot, not Fay Crate, so please forgive me my slip of the tongue. Edition of Queen of Nothing. This is the only book that has stenciled edges that I own, and I'm absolutely obsessed with them now. So there's that. And then we have my Renegades trilogy, which I still haven't finished. Let's not talk about it. I still really love it, and it's in my favorite shelf. And then Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. We love that. I wish I had the blue sprayed edge edition of Strange the Dreamer, but this is enough. So these are the UK editions, by the way, if you guys were looking for this style and realized that you couldn't find it. I get them on Book Depository. And then we have the US edition of Strange the Dreamer. I do plan on getting the US edition of Muse of Nightmares if I find it for a good price, but for now, just Strange the Dreamer. And then we have the books that I have in the Witchlands series by Susan Dennard. Truth Witch, Wind Witch, and then Sight Witch. I've read these 2. I have not read Sight Witch. Really have to get on that though, because I started Blood Witch and I've been a little bit confused because you do have to read Sight Witch before Blood Witch, but I don't know. I couldn't find it on audio, so that's that. And then we have my other Sarah J Maas books that just don't fit on the Sarah J Maas shelf. So really that other one is more of like my Throne of Glass shelf, not my Sarah J Maas shelf. But we have A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, A Court of Wings and Ruin, and A Court of Frost and Starlight. And then we have Catwoman Soul Stealer. This is actually the only book I own by Sarah J Maas that I haven't read, and I really need to get on that because I tend to not see it because it's under all of these, and I just realized I haven't read it, so that's really awkward. So let's just put Rhysand back where he was, and let's put this cute little mug there. So, and back to the skinny shelf. This one just mostly holds some of my prettier classic editions. First and foremost though, we have my Stitch, Angel, and Scrump Funko Pops, which are just really cute. They were on last year's bookshelf tour as well, but you know, they'll always be on the bookshelf tours. And then again, we have some of my fancier classics editions. So we have this cute little Peter Pan pocket-sized edition that I got in a Fay Crate. I love this. And then we have some of the Barnes & Noble classics editions. So we have Gods and Heroes. Here, let's pull them out, just because they're really pretty. We have Gods and Heroes of Ancient Greece, the Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer, and Aesop's Illustrated Fables. So really like these. Whenever I find them on sale and like I have the money to spend, I am trying to start collecting a few more of these at a time. We have another kind of Barnes & Noble Classics edition of William Shakespeare's completed works, and the soft covers. These are actually probably my favorite of all the Barnes & Noble ones that they make, are these soft cover editions of Jane Eyre and of Frankenstein. So yeah, and these are actually way less expensive, and I think that they're really, really a lot prettier, so I don't know. That might just be me. And then we have my 2 secret books that I received in Fairy Loots. I love these. So in my first one, in the original, I actually keep all of my bookmarks that I get in Fairy Loots and all of the tarot cards that they give out. And then in the new edition, which I vastly prefer, like this is just so freaking pretty. I don't have anything in it yet though, because I don't know what to store in it. So if you guys have these secret books, or if you have secret books like this, let me know what you keep in it, because this one's empty for now. I might just put bookmarks and stuff like that, but I haven't decided quite yet. And that's that. Now, yeah, this is
the very interesting top of my short shelf. So I don't really have much on here. I normally do have a lot on here, but it's cleared off for this video because normally I have like stacks of like TBRs and stuff. But we have my Ollivander's box, and I believe the wand is actually inside of there. I told the story in my last bookshelf tour of getting picked and stuff, so I'm not gonna say it again. But then we have the really, really pretty wand that one of you guys made me last year for my birthday, and it's just so freaking pretty. It has a crystal at the top, it's sparkly, it's just so fancy. And we have my regular camera that I use for like most of my videos. I'm currently using my vlogging camera for this because as we all know, the battery on that camera is atrocious. I really need to buy a new one, and if I tried to film this video on that camera, it wouldn't have happened. So yeah, now let's actually go down to the real stuff. So here we have the first shelf in my short bookshelves. This one tends to be more like middle grade, like this entire shelf, actually the whole small one tends to be middle grade. But first let's start with the other little tin that I have from another one of the Owl Crate boxes. This one was inspired by Holly Black. Love it. Front just says, I like for things to happen, stories to unfold, and if I can't find a good enough story, I make one. It's all like Cruel Prince inspired. And then inside of here, I keep sharpen your blade, harden your heart. We love that. I know I said I would keep a dagger in here. Couldn't find a dagger small enough, so instead we just have character cards. So we have like the Gryffindor ones that or not the Gryffindor, but the fun ones that come in like chocolate frogs. And then any of the character cards that I've gotten in any like fancy collector's editions or just in general boxes, I keep in here until I can find like a better way to store them. But I really like that for now, so let's just set that aside. And we have a gift card to Barnes & Noble, so. And over here we have mostly just like all of the Rick Riordan books. This one I kind of tried to keep themed towards Greek mythology or mythology in general. So we do have the Percy Jackson series in the box set, which goes from Lightning Thief, Sea of Monsters, Battle of the Labyrinth, Titan's Curse, and The Last Olympian. And then we have the first two books in the Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard trilogy. I have read the third, but I still don't own it, so these ones are probably, though, my favorite covers out of all of the books that he's made. They are just so freaking pretty. I'm excited to have the third book. Love that. And then we have the trilogy for the Egyptian style mythology that Rick Riordan came out with. These are the only books that I actually haven't read by Rick Riordan, so definitely we'll have to hop onto that eventually, but for now, they just sit there. And these are the first three books in the Trials of Apollo series. These are also actually really pretty covers, but I still prefer the Magnus Chase versions. I think the fourth book is either about to come out or just came out, so I'll have to hop on that one as well. This is his newest series, the one that he's still continuously working on. I think there's going to be 5 books in it. And then we have the Heroes of Olympus. Yeah, did I call this the Heroes of Olympus series? Because I meant Percy Jackson and the Olympians, but this is the Heroes of Olympus series. The Lost Hero, Son of Neptune, Mark of Athena, House of Hades, and Blood of Olympus. And then here we have some non-Rick Riordan stuff. So The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell. This is actually a really cool book if you just in general are interested in mythology or theology. It's just really well done. Joseph Campbell is or was one of the greatest minds of mythology, and so hearing his take on stuff is really cool. And then we have The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I loved this. This was so good. I can't believe I held off so long on reading that book. I can't believe I thought that I wouldn't like that one as much as I loved Circe, but I actually loved it more. There's that. If you needed a push to read Madeline Miller's works, this is it. Please read Song of Achilles and Circe because they're just so good. The audiobook is also really good for both of these, so if you're an audiobook listener, I would give it a go. And then we have Myths and Legends. This is just another kind of like study on myth that I got for a good price. And then we have Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology, which I'm actually really excited about. After reading Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, I feel like I wanted to know way more about Norse mythology and maybe delve a little deeper into it, and I feel like this is definitely going to do that for me. This is kind of like a catch-all little area, but we have Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young, Fire and Flood, which I know I was actually supposed to read this so long ago. This was a book that Kevin, the Irish reader, recommended to me, and I was really excited about it, and then I just didn't read it. So, Kevin, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. And then we have 2 arcs that I own, which actually just look really good next to each other. So Storm of Crow and Crown of Feathers. Look at Crown of Feathers. She is so stunning. We love Crown of Feathers. I haven't read this one yet, though. But don't they almost look like they would belong in a series together? Isn't that cute? I like it. Anyways, so let's move over. Back to the skinny shelf. This is actually my graphic novels for the most part, and a little bit of poetry shelf. So we do have The Watchmen. This is actually a bind up of the Watchmen comics, which my dad got for Adam a few years ago, I think, actually. So it's pretty cool that Watchmen's now coming out on, is it HBO? I don't know. And then we have some of my taller graphic novels. Oh, this is actually this is a cat book about a happy barn cat that I got in the cat crate that I opened up in one of my vlogs. So that was really cute. And then we have the Tea Dragon Festival and an Arc of Dewdrop, which is really, really fun. I didn't realize how ginormous the hardcover of Tea Dragon Festival would be. I thought it was going to be the same size as Aquacorn Cove, but it's definitely not. So I'm going to have to go out and get the Tea Dragon Society in this version. That way it's not so lonely and tall. And then we have this, which I actually got for Adam as well, but it is the Multiverse of Marvel, I believe. We have some of my graphic novels, so Paper Girls, which I haven't gotten to quite yet. We have Monstrous, which I feel like I've talked about a million times because I just love these so much. I mean, look how pretty these are. They're so stunning. I absolutely adore this series. So if you're trying to give graphic novels a go and you haven't tried out Saga yet, because Saga is the other one that everyone recommends, I would go for Monstrous. And then Steel Prince, which is the prequel to the Darker Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. The cute little Owl Crate edition of the Tea Dragon Society. And then Aquacorn Cove, which I kind of already talked about. And then we have Heartstopper volumes 1 and 2, which I read 1 this year, but I still haven't gotten to 2. This is just some more wholesome graphic novel content. These are actually manga, but they are the first 2 black editions of Death Note. So the black editions actually have 2 volumes per edition, so technically this is the first and the second, and that one's the second, or the third and the fourth, but they're just really, really stunning. We have some of my poetry, well, actually all of the poetry books that I own. This is the only one that I haven't read of all of them, or have I read The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one? No, I haven't, so 2. I haven't read 2 of the books, but this is Whiskey Words and a Shovel by R.H. Sin. And then we have Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur, The Sweetest Kind of Poison by Katie Wismer, who's actually a booktuber. This was amazing. If you guys like any sort of modern poetry, I would definitely try it out. And then we have these 2 by Amanda Lovelace, Princess Saves Herself in this one, and The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one. We have a little bind up of some of the classic tales of horror for Edgar Allan Poe, and then we have his complete works at the bottom. Yeah, that's really it for that shelf. So let's move on. And now we have another one of my more favorite-y kind of shelves, but this is again like young adult fantasy. So let's start with a little knickknack. I have this really awesome mug that one of my friends got me from Disneyland, which just has books all over it and it says Belle. It's just so freaking cute. I love it so much, and I use it to store all of my wood marks. So anything that's really like considered a wood mark. I have actually kind of amassed quite a collection of them. There's that. I really like that. These are probably like my favorite kinds of bookmarks to collect. And now let's move on to the books. So let's start over here. These are my Cinda Williams Chima books. I've read all of these. I have not read, though, the last book in the Flamecaster, or I believe it's called the Shattered Realms books. So there are 4 books in each of them. This is the spin-off series of this series. This was the 7 Realms books. So Demon King, Exiled Queen, Grey Wolf Throne, and Crimson Crown. Don't ask me why this goes this way and this goes this way. I just realized that. Definitely should have fixed it, but that's okay. And then we have the spin-off series, which is Flamecaster, Shadowcaster, and Stormcaster, and then there's one more after this, which I still don't own and haven't read. But this is actually such a good fantasy series. It's not really talked about that much on BookTube, but if you like some very like political intrigue style fantasy, I think you would really enjoy them. And then we have my Caraval books. So we have Caraval, Legendary, and then the really gorgeous edition of Finale that came in the collector's edition box for Fairy Loot. So I keep that one. Oh, I guess I do have more books that are stenciled edges. And it was also a Fairy Loot book, so that's funny. But I do keep this one spine out because I just love how it looks. And then we have the stunning edition of Crown of Feathers from the Owl Crate box. I went on a hunt to find this because I didn't get that box, but it has the dusty sprayed edges and then the black background with the phoenix. It's just So pretty. I read this earlier this year. It's definitely up there in my favorites of the year. I adored it. And actually today, when I'm filming this video, I'll released the pre-order to get the next book in the series in their fancy like Owl Crate version of it. So I already bought mine because I'm very excited about it. And then we have An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson, and then 2 editions of Sorcery of Thorns, Owl Crates, purple edition. And then we have the Fairy Loot, sparkly turquoise. I don't know if it's catching that in this, but it's so freaking pretty. It just complements it so well, which I also keep inside out like that. Or not inside out, but backwards. And then we have Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. I loved this book. I know that the second one already came out, but I haven't picked it up quite yet. And then we have the first 3 books in the An Ember in the Ashes series. So I'm excited for them to release like this cover in these 2 books because for now, they just don't match, but that's fine, that's fine. So An Ember in the Ashes, A Torch Against the Night, and A Reaper at the Gates. I was feeling very meh about this series. Like I loved the first one, felt not great about the second one, but I loved the third one. So I figured out that the audiobook is definitely the way to go, for me at least, with this series, because I read these 2 on audio, and this one I like forced my way through physically. Then we have We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. This is the Owl Crate edition as well. I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited to. And then Girls of Paper and Fire, The Star Touched Queen, and A Crown of Wishes by Roshni Chokshi, which I adore. I really like Roshni Chokshi's writing, and I loved the mythology that's explored in those 2 books. I just think it's done so well. And then we have Heartless by Marissa Meyer, which I haven't read yet, but I'm really excited. I don't know. I was excited about it from the moment I heard about it. I think it's a Red Queen retelling or like villain origin story, and I just have heard really amazing things about it, so definitely have to hop on that. Okay, so moving over, we have yet another fantasy shelf, basically. So it kind of started as urban fantasy and then it just merged into whatever needed to fit into it. So we have the first 2 books in the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon, which these covers are so pretty. Part of the reason that I don't want to continue the series is because the covers were changed. I didn't love the Bone Season either, so I do want to give My Mortar a try though, but we'll just see what ends up happening. The thing is that I read Priory of the Orange Tree this year and adored it. So I really kind of want to give Samantha Shannon's other series a try again, so we'll just see what I end up doing. We have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is one of my all-time favorites. You never would have like guessed, honestly, because the way that The Night Circus is written is it's very like detailed and delectable writing. It's just a beautiful writing style, but kind of a drawn-out story, and it's very character-driven, and I don't tend to be a person that likes any of those. Well, I like pretty writing, but drawn out stories that are character driven are not my thing all the time. The 3 first books in the Diviners series by Luba Bray, and yes, all of them have a different cover. So I really hope she comes out with a different cover for the 4th book, or else it's gonna be weird that 2 of them match and all of the rest don't. You know, they just have to keep unmatching at this point. But we have the Diviners, which is clearly the best of all of the covers that they've come out with. And then Layer of Dreams, which is probably the worst, honestly. And then Before the Devil Breaks You, which is, it's good. But come on, how are you gonna... Let's go back to this. Let's do it again. I wonder what makes them think to like change a cover 3 separate times. That's crazy. And then we have The Last Magician and the Devil's Thief by Lisa Maxwell. I read Last Magician last year and adored it, but I haven't actually gotten to Devil's Thief this year. And then we have this stack of books. So we have Akata Witch, which is an amazing fantasy story, or urban fantasy. I've heard it compared to Harry Potter a lot, which I can definitely see why. The Devouring Grey, Night of Cake and Puppets, which is so freaking cute. This is a novella in this world, the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy world by Laini Taylor, and it is so adorable. It's between 2 of the characters, and I think it's in between Daughter of Smoke and Bone and Days of Blood and Starlight. It's just so well done. Highly recommend it. And then we have Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, and then 2 of my favorite books, Furthermore and Witchwood by Tahada Mafi. I love these. These are so whimsical and just otherworldly. Like, it's just so well done. Furthermore is kind of Tahada Mafi's take on Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and then Witchwood is just so freaking cute because we follow like the characters from here, but we're also following a new character and she just needs a lot of help and they're there to help her. And then the first 4 books in the Wayward Children's series that Shauna McGuire is making, so Every Heart a Doorway, Down Among the Sticks and Bones, Beneath the Sugar Sky, and In an Absent Dream. Those are all really, really good books. They're basically like portal fantasy, and they're really short and sweet, and you get a taste of all these worlds that these children get to visit, and I think they're very well done. I love Shauna Maguire's work. 1,000 Beginnings and Endings, which is one of the only anthologies that I've ever read, but I absolutely adored it. I read that for the Asian readathon that was going on earlier this year, and then we did already talk about the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor. So that's really it for this shelf. Okay, and here we have my sci-fi shelf. So I probably need to expand to have more than one sci-fi shelf because this one's filled up and I had to start moving things to other shelves. First we have like the little remote for these dangling lights. They're normally colorful, but you can't really see them right now. They might be off actually. Oh no, you just can't see them. Maybe the battery's dead. But these Adam actually got from Amazon, so if you were interested in that, that's where he found them. Let's start with the books. First we have the Illuminae trilogy by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I feel like these are just so well known just because of how beautiful the covers are. So Illuminae, Gemina, and Obsidio. I haven't started Obsidio yet, but I read Gemina finally and adored it. These are just told so amazingly. I marked every part that had a picture on it. It's just done really, really well. Pictures. And then Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff did so well writing together that they made Aurora Rising. This is another beautiful cover, so love that. I'm pretty sure Charlie Bowater drew the face for this one. Charlie Bowater is a really, I feel like, well-known artist for fan art kind of stuff. And then we have Jay Kristoff's Lifelike, which I haven't gotten to yet. And then we have the Lunar Chronicles series, which I read all of these. So Cinder, Scarlet, Cress, and Winter. I recently got rid of one of the novellas in this world because I just don't feel like I'll ever read it. I loved Cinder, but my love for the series kind of started dwindling towards the end. We have the Red Rising trilogy. So Red Rising, Golden Sun, and Morning Star. Love these books. They are just so well done by Pierce Brown. And then we have Dark Age, which is the second book in his new trilogy that's following the events of Morning Star. I believe that it's set 10 years in the future or maybe a little bit more, but I don't own Iron Gold, which is supposed to go right here. I mean, it's not going to fit right there, but that's definitely one that I'm missing. So Dark Age. And then over here we have this Gone series. I feel like this is another series that I get questions about all the time. I feel like it's just because the print on them is so noticeable. You can just see it in any of my videos if they're in the background. But the Gone series is these 6 books. So Gone, Hunger, Lies, Plague, Fear, and Light by Michael Grant. And I read them so long ago, probably 6 or 7 years ago. And I remember I started it when I think Lies had just come out. So I had to wait for Plague, Fear, and Light. It's really good. It's just pretty dark. It's definitely a sci-fi, but it takes place in our world. One day a sphere kind of appears. I don't know how to describe it really, but basically they're sitting in class, like all these kids, and then out of nowhere, all the adults and anyone over 16 just disappears. And they find out that they're kind of trapped in their little city in California with a dome that's surrounding them, and they have to figure out how to survive. It's really, really dark. Like, the things that happen in this, terrible. But I feel like it's really well written. And then we have Warcross by Marie Lu. I haven't gotten the next book in the series yet because I haven't heard great things about it. We're holding off. And yeah, that's really it for this shelf. Now let's go down. We're almost done, guys. So under my sci-fi shelf, we have my other contemporary shelf, my only other contemporary shelf. Don't you see what I mean by I need more contemporaries? Because they're just so colorful. They bring good lighting to my shelves. So let's start over here, but we have a couple of paperbacks on top. We just have Perks of Being a Wallflower. This is amazing. If you actually have only seen the movie's incredible as well, but the book is awesome. And then we have The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith, and then we have these books over here. So we have Wonder by RJ Palacio. I have not read this, but I've heard that it's a very wholesome book. This actually was also turned into a movie, which I haven't seen yet. And then we have all my Ali Carter books. So we have the High Society trilogy, which I still haven't read, Perfect Scoundrels. And we have the I'd Tell You I Love You, but then I'd have to kill you series. This is just so good. I don't think I could ever get rid of it because what if one day I want to reread it? There's that one, then there's Cross My Heart and Hope to Spy, Only the Good Spy Young, United We Spy, Don't Judge a Girl by Her Cover, and then Out of Sight, Out of Time. Such a good classic young adult series. And then we have Turtles All the Way Down by John Green, which I haven't read. Let's talk about the ones that I haven't read on the shelf because I feel like there's a few. So Turtles All the Way Down is one of them. Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, I have not read as well. The Chaos of Standing Still, I haven't read as well. Heretics Anonymous and Letters to the Lost are also ones that I haven't read in this little area, but I have read My Heart and Other Black Souls.
Okay, it's definitely My Heart and Other Black Holes, but how sick does My Heart and Other Black Souls sound?
A Tragic Kind of Wonderful, love this. It's really, really interesting. Our main character is actually bipolar in it, and it's just so interesting to have like an insight into how she was thinking throughout the story. I mean, like, it's fiction, but I feel like it was really well researched. And then we have They Both Die at the End, which I adored. This is my first Adam Silvera book, and it was just definitely amazing. So my hopes are very high that I'd like his other books. And then we have this stack over here, which I feel like I've read half of, because I've read Before I Fall, The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis, The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. This is a beautiful magical realism style story, but it did make me realize that I don't know if I like magical realism because it kind of confuses me in a sense. At least the way that it was done in The Astonishing Color of After, I was pretty confused. I don't know, I have to give it another go, but for right now, I'm not sure if I love magical realism. I have 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher, which I keep keeping because I know that I want to read it. Maybe. I just hate the Netflix series so much, so I probably should just get rid of that book, but I haven't yet. We have Pride by Ibby's a Boy, which I definitely want to get to. Eliza and Her Monsters by not Christina Zappia. What is it? Francesca Zappia, which I've heard really, really great things about, especially for like anxiety reps, so I think it would be pretty interesting to read, but I haven't gotten to it yet. And then the first 3 books in the Charlotte Holmes series. So A Study in Charlotte, Lost of August, and The Case for Jamie, which I've read. And then we have these 3 at the end, which are like taller contemporaries. We have Frankly in Love by David Yoon and The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex Harrow. This is magical realism, so I'll give that one a go, but if I don't like it, I don't know if I'll continue magical realism style books. And then Little Monsters by Kara Thomas, which I'd heard pretty bad things about, but I actually kind of liked. So I think it's because I had such low thoughts going into it. All right, now let's go that way. So we have yet another young adult fantasy shelf. I mean, if you're catching on, I like young adult fantasy. I feel like I've actually read most of the books on this shelf. So we have the Winter's Curse trilogy, which is The Winter's Curse, The Winter's Crime, and The Winter's Kiss by Marie Rukowski. And then we have The Wrath and the Dawn duology by Renee Audier, with the first book and then The Rose and the Dagger being the second book. Didn't love these. I don't know. I felt pretty mixed about it. I can appreciate though that Renee Audier's writing improved for The Rose and the Dagger. So, and then we have Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw, which I have not read yet. This is the book that tragically was injured in the December TBR fiasco of 2019. And then we have Empress of All Seasons by Emma Gojean. I really feel like I'd like this, and I still haven't gotten to it yet. It's here, it's kept. I'm gonna get to it eventually. Then we have Grace and Fury by Tracy Banghart, another one that I haven't gotten to yet, but I love this edition of it. This is the Fairy Loot. I don't know why I like this one so much better than the Owl Crate version, which I actually got rid of, I'm pretty sure, because I didn't like it. A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmer. This is the Fairy Loot edition, which has the really beautiful holographic side. That's probably blinding to you. This midsection is my least read area because we have Mirage, which I haven't read, by Samaya Dodd. Damsel, which I have read actually, by Elena Arnold. Wicked Fox by Kat Cho, which I have read. Fire and Heist by Sarah Beth Durst, which I have not read. Four Dead Queens by Astrid Schultz. This one's read. So is Serpent and Dove, and that's it. Because The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd-Jones, The Never Tilting World, and Rule by Ellen Goodlit, I have not read. But I really actually want to read Rule. This is one that I randomly saw in Barnes & Noble and wanted to pick up, and then when I put it on my Amazon wishlist, one of you guys actually gave it to me, and I feel like I would really, really enjoy it. It gives me Three Dark Crown vibes, but not too much. And then in this stack, we have the Morgan Rhodes series, the Fallen Kingdom series. So Fallen Kingdoms, Rebel Spring, Gathering Darkness, Frozen Tides, Crystal Storm, and Immortal Rain, which I've read all of those. And then Spirits and Thieves is actually the spin-off for this series, and I have not read it. I don't think I ever would want to, so I'm pretty sure that this actually started and then the series never got finished. Like, it wasn't popular enough or something like that. And then we have The Boneless Mercies and The Merciful Crow, which these ones give me vibes of each other, but like they don't have anything to do with each other. Their plots don't really either. Or they might. You know, I might have given the wrong... I just realized that I'm pretty sure I gave the wrong summary for this one in my haul. I think I was giving the summary of this one for Boneless Mercies. So it's pretty awkward. And that's it. Alright, and this one's kind of mostly my V.E. Schwab and Leigh Bardugo shelf. So we have the original Shadow and Bone trilogy, so Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. And then we have Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo, which is kind of tales from this world, from the Grisha verse. The Six of Crows duology, so Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I feel like everyone knows those two. And then we have our newer book, which is the only one I haven't read, which is King of Scars. This one came out in January, I believe, of 2019, and I still haven't really gotten to it because I wanted to reread the rest of the series before getting to it, and I just haven't done that yet. And then we have the This Savage Song duology, so This Savage Song and Our Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab. And then we have the archived Accidental duology, because this was meant to be a series, but there was only 2 that were ever released, which is the Archived and the Unbound. I've briefly talked about these covers because you can't really find these anymore. They are out of print. I believe that she made a bind-up, though, of the Archived and the Unbound, so that if you did still want to read this series, you would be able to. I do really like the original covers, though, so yeah. And I ended up actually really enjoying that series, so I know a lot of you guys were thinking that I wouldn't, but I don't know, it worked for me. It's kind of a tight fit on the shelf. Then we have my Shades of Magic series. So we have A Darker Shade of Magic, A Gathering of Shadows, and A Conjuring of Light in the classic just white editions that V. Schwab came out with. And then we have 2 different editions of A Darker Shade of Magic. So we have the black edition and then the silver one, which this one is the Barnes & Noble edition. And then when I found out that there's no difference between the collector's editions and the Barnes & Noble collector's editions on the inside, I just stopped collecting this version. But I did get A Gathering of Shadows in the Barnes & Noble exclusive when it came out, and I believe that A Conjuring of Light should be coming out soon, but I liked that these ones were metallic. Those I have all read. And then we have The Near Witch by V.E. Schwab, which I actually did read and enjoyed. This was a reprinting of one of like the first books that she ever came out with, if not the first book that she ever actually published. That was really cool for her, I feel like. And then when I read it, I was nervous that her writing wouldn't be as good as these ones, but it actually was. So, still recommend it. And then we have Vicious and Vengeful by V.E. Schwab, which are 2 more of her adult books. Her name for her young adults are Victoria Schwab, and then V.E. Schwab are for her adult books. And then we have City of Ghosts, which is actually a middle grade by her. I actually haven't read. I haven't read Vengeful either yet, actually, so definitely have some Schwab catching up to do. The Fairy Loot edition of The Beautiful by Renee Audier. I did like it, I just didn't love it. I expected more vampires. It was a vampire book. It was marketed a lot more strongly as vampires, I feel like, and we just didn't get that much, in my opinion. And then we have Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, which I adore. That is actually Seanan McGuire's pen name. The more you know. Second to last skinny shelf. So we have all of my Ellen Hopkins books. This is her only, I think, adult poetry style book, so the Triangles novel, but this one I've only gotten like 1/3 of the way through and I haven't finished yet. But it does follow, I think, parents of one of her previous series. And then I don't know if I have all of them. I think I do. Yeah, so we have Crank, Burned. Actually, oh gosh, let's try and do it in the order of these sequels, not in release date order. So we have Burned and we have Smoke. These are the same world. Then we have Crank, Glass, and Fallout, which are also following the same character. Impulse, I believe, is a prequel to Perfect. And then we have Tricks, which I think follows the same people as Traffic. And then Tilt, Identical, and then Rumble. Out of all of these, I think that her best series is definitely the Crank series and then the Burned ones. The other ones, though, I really like Perfect, so that one is that. They're all pretty, like, dark. They follow dark topics and dark situations for teenagers or just in general. I don't know. I would definitely check the trigger warnings because there are a lot of them. A lot of them have to do with drug use and just all of the bad things that can go along with that. Most of them take place in and around Las Vegas or in Nevada, because I think Ellen Hopkins lives in Nevada. So that was always pretty funny for me because obviously I grew up in Vegas. Alright, Alright, now for my Harry Potter shelf. I originally, in my last bookshelf tour, had 2 Harry Potter shelves, and then I realized that I really didn't need 2. And now I only have 1, and I realized that I'm definitely gonna need another Harry Potter shelf because this one's jam-packed, and I've been holding off on buying a lot of Harry Potter style things because of it. So let's go in. Let's start with the knickknacks. We do have my little Sirius Black Funko in his little doggy form. He's dusty. I'm sorry, Sirius Black. But he's just so cute. I adore him. I kind of want to get another one of these and paint the eyes red to have an eclipse, you know, for Mia Corvair. But then I have to find a black cat, which I feel like can definitely be done. This little fancy case of metal bookmarks that I actually got in a giveaway that I won. That was Alexandra Roslin here on BookTube. Love her content. Also, that giveaway was spectacular. One of my luckiest moments. Then we have a Gryffindor journal, which I know I'm not a Gryffindor anymore, so this is pretty awkward, but it's still really, really fancy. Oh gosh, this is dusty too. Ew, I'm sorry guys. And then we have some of the Birdie Bots Every Flavor beans. This one I got in Alexandra Roslin's giveaway. These, my friend got them for me when she went to the Wizarding World for the first time. I think it had just opened. I haven't eaten them yet because I'm kind of nervous. Well, now I can't. I feel like those are way too old to be eaten. And the last knickknack is this really, really cute Harry Potter music box that my boyfriend's family got for me last Christmas. So I did this last year too, but I really like how it sounds, so. Isn't it so cool? And now for the actual books on the shelf. So we'll start over here. We do have my Gryffindor edition of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. These are the 20th anniversary editions of Harry Potter that you can get in your house colors. I definitely have to get the next one in Slytherin, but I haven't gotten Chamber of Secrets quite yet. But you can find these on Book Depository. People ask quite often. And then I have my original Harry Potter books, so Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner of Azkaban, Goblet of Fire, Order of the Phoenix, and Half-Blood Prince. And these are the original ones I read, as well as this one. Yeah, and then I've slowly started collecting them in the US edition hardcovers. So we have the one that I already had, which is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, as well as Deathly Hallows. And then I found Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince at, I think, a Goodwill, so I definitely picked that one up. And then I bought Chamber of Secrets when I started my reread of the series, because I figure as I reread them, I can buy the hardcover. And then we have probably my favorite edition of the Tales of Beedle the Bard. This one is just so pretty. I really enjoy it. And then we have this dark arts kind of Wizarding World movie scrapbook that my boyfriend's family got for me. We have Harry Potter in Spanish, A Journey Through a History of Magic, and then let's put this back. And we have the new paperbacks for the US editions, which create the Hogwarts castle with the spines of the books, which I probably will never read those ones because I'm too scared of cracking the spine. And we have my illustrated edition. So we have down here Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which is the one that my boyfriend got me for Christmas / my birthday. Then we have the first 3, which are Sorcerer's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, and Prisoner of Azkaban. I still think that Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite color scheme, but there's just so much detail in the cover of Goblet of Fire that it might be my new favorite. And then we have this little time turner replica from the movie, which is just really cute and I keep hung on my books. And then we have the illustrated editions of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and the Tales of Beedle the Bard. That's really it for this one. And we're finally on the last layer of shelves. My tripod cannot physically get low enough for this part, so you're kind of tilted, which I'm sorry about. So the last of my little bookshelf, we have more middle grade, really. So we have the Aragon series. We have the bind up of the first 2. I keep this one mostly because this is the one that I actually read of Aragon and Eldest, and also that cover is just stunning, am I right? And then we have Aragon, Eldest, Bersinger, and Inheritance, all by Christopher Paolini. I have not yet read Inheritance, but maybe one day. And then kind of at the top, hiding, is the Lemony Snicket, the unauthorized autobiography, and the last book in the Lemony Snicket series, which is The End, number 13. And then we have the rest of the series of unfortunate events. So Bad Beginning, Reptile Room, these are the movie editions. Shows how long ago I got these. I love these though. I will always keep them on my shelf. They are really what started me on reading. I feel like I said that in my last bookshelf tour, but this is just for any of you guys that are new that haven't seen that one yet. So then we have The Wide Window, The Miserable Mill, The Austere Academy, The Ersatz Elevator, The Vile Village, The Hostile Hospital, The Carnivorous Carnival, The Slippery Slope, The Grim Grotto, and right here, hiding at the very, very top, squished in, is The Penultimate Peril, which is the 12th book. Love those books. I love how aesthetic they are too, so it works out very nicely. We have The Girl Who Drank the Moon, which is just such a cute book. I definitely recommend this to any of you guys that want to try out middle grade. The Fallout, which is actually a sequel to The Compound, which is a book that I read in middle school that I rented from my middle school library, and I never knew there was a sequel to it, and I saw it on Book Outlet one day and I just had to get it, but I still haven't read it. I feel like I'd really enjoy it though. It was kind of about a family that went underground to avoid the apocalypse, but there's this major twist at the end. I mean, it makes sense that there would be a sequel to it, I just didn't know. And then we have all of my children's classics, well, I guess they're called Great Illustrated Classics. But we have Moby Dick. Oh my gosh, $2.99. Can you believe that? Wow. My dad got these for me when I was really little. So we have Moby Dick, The Count of Monte Cristo, The Call of the Wild. Oh, see, I think this is the edition that I read. Are they the same? I feel like they would be very, very similar. So I haven't read the other one yet. And then The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. And we have these beautiful, beautiful books. I feel like you guys always ask me about them because they're just so pretty. But Ink Death, Ink Spell, and Ink Heart, all by Cornelia Funk. These are really cool. It's definitely portal fantasy, but the basis of the story is that this little girl's dad is a writer, but his words come to life. I don't know if he is a writer, actually, now that I think about it, but when he reads out loud, the words that he reads come to life around him, and then she kind of discovers that she has the same power, and they both end up somehow getting teleported into the book that they're reading. The book is Inkheart, actually. And it just goes from there. It's a really, really cool fantasy story. It's probably one of the first full-on fantasies that I read as a child, and it doesn't hurt that the covers are beautiful. And this is the covers without the dust jackets too. And then we have a Throne of Glass coloring book right over here, which I haven't colored in at all, but I feel like I would have such a good time with it. And then the Marvel Encyclopedia, updated and expanded. I really like how my whole middle grade shelf looks. Ow, I hit my hand. But now let's move on. So next we have my manga shelf. This one's a little jam-packed as well. Definitely need to rearrange things when I reorganize my bookshelves. But we have this one and this one that are kind of just squished in. But they are Ultramaniac volumes 4 and 5. This was when I was really young and just wanted to get into manga, and I would sit down at Barnes & Noble and read something. And I remember I read the first 3 volumes of this in one sitting, so my mom got me 4 and 5. Well, I read the first 3 at Barnes & Noble, and then she got me 4 and 5. It's actually really cute. I think it's about 2 witches. The Complete Cheese Sweet Home, part 1. Such a cute little kitten. Adam and I like to go through that one together. Then we have Fairy Tale volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 9 and 10. I've read the first 2 or 3, I believe, and yeah, I really enjoy them. I wanted to move on to Fairy Tale because I loved Rave Master. This is the first series that I ever got into, so I have Rave Master volumes 24 through 35 by Hiro Mishima, and he does the story for Fairy Tale as well, and it's super similar. So yeah, I still think that I prefer Rave Master, but I feel like that's just maybe because it's the first one I ever read. And then we have Naruto volumes 1, 2, and 3. I feel like I said that very weird, which is actually my boyfriend's. I let him keep his books on my shelf too. The Complete Collection of Orange volume 1 and 2, which I haven't read yet. We're just gonna leave those like that. Alright, next up we have my paranormal shelf, my guilty pleasure style shelf. We're just sitting now, guys. But we have the rest of my L.J. Smith books. So these are the Vampire Diaries books. They start actually up here because the first 2 that I own are in paperback. I couldn't stack them the way that I normally like to stack books. But we have the first 2 books in the Vampire Diaries series, which is The Awakening and the Struggle, and then The Fury and the Dark Reunion. Technically they're bind-ups, all of them. Then the Vampire Diaries, The Return, which is Nightfall, The Return, volume 2, Shadow and Soul, Girls, The Return Volume 3, Midnight. When they got to these red ones, I guess a shadow or ghostwriter started writing them, and I really didn't know at the time, and I didn't like them either, so there's that. So that's going to be The Hunters, Volumes 1, 2, and 3, which is Phantom Moonsong and Destiny Rising. And then we have my Twilight books. So Twilight, oh, just in case you haven't seen them. So Twilight, New Moon. I know these weren't very popular, so I definitely wanted to show you them, you know. Eclipse, and Breaking Dawn. These covers makes no sense for the story. And we have The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner, which I've read all of those. I think I've read everything on this shelf, actually, so that's pretty cool. And then we have The Host, which is Stephenie Meyer's best book. Like, this is the best book that Stephenie Meyer ever made, so if you haven't read it yet, you really should, because I love this book. This is really, really good, and I'm pretty sad that there never was a sequel to it. And then we have the Book of the Month edition of The Beautiful by Renee Audier, my Vampire Academy books. So these are the ones that I actually read again. So the first 3 are in paperback, which are Vampire Academy, Frostbite, and Shadow Kiss. And then we have the rest in hardcover because these are as they were released. So Blood Promise, Spirit Bound, and The Last Sacrifice. Or not The Last Sacrifice. That's funny because that's what The Witcher. Okay, whatever. I actually definitely prefer, though, the Vampire Academy series, this original series, to the Bloodline series, because even though the Bloodlines is amazing, especially for a spin-off, Vampire Academy will always have my heart. And then we have The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black. And as a vampire book, this one's actually really, really cool. Don't expect like too much out of it, but it's definitely pulling from those YA trashy kind of vibes. These always kind of fall over, but we have my dystopian shelf. So all of these books are dystopians in one way or another. I have read all of the books on this shelf except for Thunderhead and World War Z. Now you know, that way I don't have to repeat it for all the books. But we have Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. I didn't love this, so I probably will never continue with the series. I might even unhaul this book, it depends. But then we have the Hunger Games trilogy, iconic. Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. Divergent trilogy. Let's just not talk about Allegiant because it was just so bad. Divergent had such a strong start, such a mediocre middle, and such an awful, awful last book. And then Not a Drop to Drink by Mindy McGinnis, and we have all of my Shatter Me books. I have been waiting for Shatter Me to come out in the actual hardcover in this edition. I think that they have them now, but they're kind of expensive, so I haven't gotten it yet. But we have Unite Me, which is the bind-up of Destroy Me and Fraction Me, which are novellas. Unravel Me, which is the second book. Ignite Me, which is the third book. Honestly, the new stuff, I don't recommend it, but at this point I'm too far in. I'm gonna have to keep reading. So there's Restore Me and then Defy Me. Restore Me wasn't that bad, but Defy Me was terrible. And then we have Scythe by Neil Shusterman and also Thunderhead. So this is the first book, second. The Prodigy trilogy. I don't know why it's backwards, guys. We have Legend, Prodigy, and Champion, all by Marie Lu. And then we have my Uglies books. So these are Uglies, Pretties, and Specials in the original paperbacks, and then I've been collecting them in the white paperback editions as well. So I have Uglies and Specials, and then I have Extras. So that was the fourth kind of book in the series. And then Warm Bodies by Isaac Marion. Let's go to the next shelf, because there isn't just like any more to really talk about here. Okay, last shelf, my battery's close to death, but we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it, guys. So this is mostly unread, but it's also mostly fantasy. So let's kind of jump in. I feel like let's talk about first the books that I have read. That way we have a good idea. But we have Golden Sun in the paperback edition. This is actually the edition I read, but I wanted the hardcover to match the other ones. But since I annotated this one, I haven't wanted to get rid of it. The Walled City by Ryan Groden. Loved that. That's actually such a cool book. And then Neverworld Wake. Wow, I don't know what I just said, but it was not Neverworld Wake, which is what the book is called, by Marisha Pessel. I did not love that. I expected a lot more out of it, and as a thriller, it was not very thrilling. The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. I actually really like The Fifth Wave. I've heard that the first book is amazing, but the rest aren't, so I've only really read the first book. And then Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This is another book that I just did not love. I still think that I might give Children of Virtue and Vengeance a chance. I don't know if I'm gonna buy it physically though. I might just listen to it on audio, so we'll see, because I've heard good things about the audiobook, but physically Children of Blood and Bone did not vibe with me at all. The next one that I read is Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody, Zenith by Sasha Alsberg and Lindsay Cumming. Over here I read The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. I actually heard that she is coming out with the Tales of the Hinterlands book, which was my favorite part of The Hazelwood, so I'm really, really excited about that. And then Strange Grace by Tessa Gratton, which I've also read, but didn't love really. And then The Kingdom. I loved this book. This was really cool, actually. Those are all the books that I've read on the shelf. So the rest, let's just talk about them. I still really, really want to read Foxhole Court. This is probably my biggest point of shame because I should have read it by now. I feel like I'm gonna really love it. This is Chandler Ainsley's favorite book. So Chandler Ainsley here on BookTube, and she loves this and she bought it for me. So I'm sorry, Chandler, I still haven't read it. Don't judge me. And then we have A River of Royal Blood, which I got in a fairy loot. The Heart of the Moors. This is the book that I accidentally got instead of Queen of Nothing. Conceal Don't Feel by Jen Kalanita, which is one of the Twisted Tales books. How to Make Friends with the Dark by Kathleen Glasgow. I'm actually really excited about that one. A Million Junes by Emily Henry. This is one I'm nervous about because I know it's magical realism. We already had our talk about magical realism. Wicked Like Wildfire. And then we have this anthology, which is Because You Love to Hate Me. I still really want to read this, but I haven't gotten to it quite yet. So, I mean, it was an anthology that was made in collaboration with booktubers, which is just so freaking cool. The Infinite Sea, which, you know, I will get to it, but I think I'd listen to it on audio. Oh, just in case, because I know I've said that about a few books about audio. Own a lot of books, and then I will rent them on audio, like through Scribd or through my library. I don't normally buy 2 editions of every book. If I can find it for free, I will. Free as in like legally free, because not like the returning things on Audible kind of free, because it's actually bad for authors. So anyways, rant over. So let's go over to Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. Oh, we have a kitten. Hello, Luna. Well, we're almost done, so then you can say hi. Jack the Ripper, which I haven't gotten to yet, but I really, really want to. I feel like I would love Carrie Maniscalco's books. And then The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. I'm excited about this one. Again, I really liked her Star-Touched Queen series, and I know that this one, people have said, is pretty similar to Six of Crows in certain aspects, but I really feel like Roshni Chokshi's writing is going to bring a new layer to it. Song of the Crimson Flower, but Wicked Deep, and Heart of Thorns, The Chosen by Taryn Mathura, To Best the Boys by Mary Weber, Spectacle by Jody Lynn Zidrock. I totally butchered that last name. But you know what? There's one more book to talk about, and that's Even the Darkest Stars, so we're gonna ignore it right now. Yeah, oh my gosh, that's really it for this shelf and all of the shelves. So, wow, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Actually, we're gonna have an outro because I feel like this is not a good enough outro. So, talk to you guys in a minute.
So that was the bookshelf tour. I did want to say like a quick outro right before I walked away from you guys. You did stick through this entire video, so thank you so much. I'm really happy overall with how this video I think turned out, and I'm excited though. I did film like a montage-y clip of what they looked like in the daylight, but I think that now I'm gonna also film a clip of what they look like more at night, because currently it is nighttime. It took me that long to film this. Also, night hits at around 4 o'clock now, which is rude. I definitely just wanted to say thank you so much for watching, for any of you guys that stuck around all the way to the very end. And yeah, I guess we're gonna have one more little montage-y style clip of just the colorful shelves or the colorful shelves of what they look like at night, and then we're done. So again, thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I guess I'll see you in the new year, because this is currently not the new year, but it will be when you see this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye!